What is going down, Sourdough Squad? We got a jam-packed show today. We are going to be doing our 53-man roster prediction. Oh, baby. It is that time of the year, so you know what it means. We're cutting the final 53 for the San Francisco 49ers. We'll be getting into that. We'll be talking about the snub of the century, Trent Williams. What the heck is going on? You already know the vibes. Dropping SDS in the chat if you're vibing with your boy. Feels like this show's going to be a little spicy. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down to all my sourdough squad? Good to see you guys back here on this Friday. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's get into it. Let's get into it right away. Hey, wake up, honey. Wake up, honey. Mike McGlinchey seen at practice today in uniform. Now we'll continue to monitor to see what that actually means. Did he practice? What capacity? But the fact that Big Mike is wearing a jersey and is back at practice, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Get Mike McGlinchey back into that roster immediately. This is a Mike McGlinchey free of slander channel, and you saw why this last preseason game. The San Francisco 49ers need Mike McGlinchey in on the opposite side of Trent Williams. No ifs, ands, or buts. They need him in there if they want to keep Trey Lance upright and have a successful season. So that is good news to start things out. It does. I mean, if Mike McGlinchey is practicing and he's back, at least in some capacity, it would indicate that he is on his way back potentially by week 1. We also found the news that Mr. Jaquiski Tart was released from the Eagles today. Well. Good old Kwaski. I don't know about you guys, but as it seems right now, the San Francisco 49ers are looking for additional safety depth. They recently signed Tashawn Gibson. Again, he's a veteran in this league, just like Kwaski is, but we already understand how Kwaski fits into the scheme. He understands everything about it. He understands the personnel. He understands the verbiage. He gets it. So if there's an opportunity for the 49ers to bring Kwaski back, I'm all for it, because we all understand that Jimmy Ward is headed towards short-term injured reserve right once the season begins. So that means Jimmy Ward will be out 4 games. And Talanoa Hufanga, Tarvarius Moore, and George Odom have been good in preseason, but being able to get a plug-and-play type player who can come in and play meaningful snaps and can do well. Again, the last play that people focus on from Jaquiski Tart isn't representative of what Kwaski brought to the 49ers last year. So if Kwaski can come back, again, he was on a team-friendly year last year. You get him back on another one, it's a no-brainer to me. Bring Kwaski back to the San Francisco 49ers, especially with the depth issues and concern that they have at safety. You instantly get a guy who can fit right in and be plug and play. So I'm all for it. What say you? Would you guys bring back Kwaski, especially with the issues with depth, with Jimmy Ward he's going to be down for the first 4 games of the year? So I want to see what you guys think. Drop it in the chat. Do you want Kwaski back with the 49ers? Again, to at minimum add a legitimate depth. We know what Kwaski is, and he is a good player. So if it was up to me, I'm already calling Kwaski and be like, "Hey, Kwaski, what you doing? You wanna come back? um, so I'm all for it. I would definitely add Kowalski at this point. Um, and that's how I would rock with it. Let's see some other things. Again, with the roster cut down day looming, the San Francisco 49ers are still keeping an eye on that Jimmy Garoppolo situation. What's going on with Jimmy G? You have Schultz, Jordan Schultz of Schultz Report, saying that general manager John Lynch would prefer not to trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the Seahawks. Shocking. We already know this. We know that the 49ers do not want Jimmy Garoppolo to head up north to Seattle. So no real surprise there. Um, the question becomes, will they actually cut Jimmy Garoppolo tomorrow, or will he make the roster initially, understanding that his contract does not become guaranteed before September 11th? So they have some time. So it is going to be fascinating to see what the San Francisco 49ers do tomorrow in regards to Jimmy Garoppolo. What do you guys think? We're going to get, I made my roster projection, so we're going to get into what I think. What do you guys think? Does Jimmy Garoppolo make it on the roster until September 11th, or is tomorrow the day that Garoppolo and the 49ers find closure? I don't know. Closure's been something that the fan base has been looking for some time, since March, February. I don't know. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel real, like we could actually potentially have an answer on Jimmy. Based on the way things have gone, it feels like, hey, Jimmy's going to be a forever Niner at this point. But we'll talk about what I think, my predictions, and all that stuff. So far in the chat, seen a lot of people say, please cut him. Potentially trade to the Giants. We'll see. We will see. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh, baby. Wake up, honey. Wake up, honey. Mike McGlinchey's practicing. Oh, you love to see it. Shout out David Lombardi. We'll pull it up. Why not? Lombardi was a gem and showed a lot of my videos on his YouTube during his breakdowns in Minnesota. So let's kick it back to him. I will pull up one of his videos that he just posted. I'm really excited about this. Oh, baby. Let's go. Wake up, honey. Mike McGlinchey in pads. Oh, and add a knee brace. You got the knee brace. I'm not too worried about that. As a former offensive lineman, I had to wear double knee braces for not for no reason, but I had no knee injuries, and I had to wear double knee braces my entire time playing. So they're a little annoying, but you get used to them pretty quickly. But you do see Mike McGlinchey just getting his legs under him. He's wearing pads. He's running drills. This is the stuff that you love to see. Gonna need Mike. If the 49ers are gonna want to be successful on offense this year, you're going to need Mike McGlinchey. Say what you want about Mike McGlinchey and the reputation that some people have perpetuated of Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey is essential to the 49ers operation in being successful offense, running the football, and in pass blocking. So shout out David Lombardi for that video. That's huge. That's huge. That makes you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. Like Mike McGlinchey is going to be back for that week 1 game. Huge. That is huge news. So you love to see that. Great video from David Lombardi of The Athletic. That is fantastic. Fantastic news. in that regard. So, can we talk a little bit about the snubbery? And before we get on to the snubbery, you already know the vibes. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Let's get this thing up to the moon because we are upset with the fact that Trent Williams, 14 on the top 100. Really? Trent Williams is the 14th best player in the NFL. Please name 13 other players in the NFL that are better than Trent Williams. Please. Out of all the years and all the opportunities that they had to get this right, this was it. This was it. They had an opportunity to make Trent Williams okay. If he wasn't going to be one, I can rationalize that. You know, the NFL they just love Aaron Donald. I get it. I don't think it's right because you can't be dominated by Daniel Brunskill 3 games out of the year and still be the best player in the NFL. But I digress. I would have been happy with Trent Williams being number 2, but number 14? What? Like the NFL is just showing just the pure disrespect that they have for the offensive line position. It's saddening. I'm angry by it, but my favorite part I think of it all is the disrespect that Trent Williams felt. You could see in that clip from the NFL Top 100 when they're telling him like, "Oh, you're number 14. You're the number one. You're the highest rated offensive lineman on the list ever." He was like, "Yeah, that's cool. Oh, that's cool." He was like, but he's like, I'm going to be higher next year. I'm going to top that." And the producer was like, "Well, that's pretty good." He's like, is it? Is it good? And I think that's the biggest takeaway is Trent wasn't pleased by that ranking. Um, he was not pleased at all, and that makes me happy on the inside because he felt the disrespect. You know, again, the producer was like trying to be like, "Oh, well, you're 14. You're the best offensive lineman ever on the list." And Trent's like, "Nah, nope." He's like, "I don't care. That's not. I should be a lot higher than this." Um, so I it's again, it's a big snub, but hey, the uh the list is what the list is. I guess we can say that Trent Williams has something to prove as well moving forward. So that is a good sign. So hey, it is what it is. But all right. Are you guys ready to get into some roster predictions? Or are we ready to go through the list? I put together an entire list of the 53 players that I think, and this is going to be a projection. I am projecting what the San Francisco 49ers are going to do. It's not necessarily what I think or what I want. It's what I believe the San Francisco 49ers are going to do tomorrow when the roster cut down gets to it. So I'm going to do it this way. We're going to start. We're going to do special teams, defense, then offense. And we're going to work our way down the list. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to debate it. You tell me what you think, and we're gonna get into it. So right off the bat, no surprises here. With already, hold on. We got some breaking news as we're getting ready to go into the roster cuts. Okay, so they haven't announced it yet, but they're saying there's no Donovan West and there's no Ken Crawley at practice yet. So that's again a sign that those two guys are going to get cut. I have them on my cut list as well. So that's kind of coming in from practice right now. Deebo Samuel, who has a knee bruise, is working on the side. Looks well. Daniel Brunskill's back running after suffering a hamstring against the Packers. So the 49ers are getting healthy, but again, no sign of Donovan West or Ken Crawley at practice today, which is an indication that they've already been released. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. But again, starting with special teams, this is who I got making the squad. Robbie Gould, Mitch Wisnowski, Tabor Pepper. No surprise there. Don't need to even react. We understand what that is. Let's get into the safeties. I don't think the safeties are going to be much of a crazy projection here either. The safeties that are going to make it are going to be Jimmy Ward, Talanoa Hufanga, George Odom, and Tarvarius Moore. So there are 4. They're going to cut Taylor Hawkins and Tashawn Gibson. I'm going to do a practice squad list at the end of who I think makes a practice squad of the cut players. Now we're going to move to cornerback. I have the San Francisco 49ers keeping 6 cornerbacks. I have them keeping, obviously, Charvarius Ward. Let me say that again. I have them keeping Mooney Ward, a.k.a. Money. We got Emmanuel Mosley, Samuel Womack, Dante Johnson, Ambry Thomas, Diamador Lenore. So I have the 49ers keeping 6 cornerbacks. And again, remember, you have Jason Verrett on PUP. That means Tariq Castro-Fields got cut, Quantrez Knight, and Ken Crawley. But as it's being reported, Ken Crawley is already not at practice. So there might have got one of them already. Might have got one of them. So Tariq Castro-Fields, I think, showed some promise in preseason. But ultimately, I think they can get him back on the practice squad, as well as Quantrez Knight. I really do like Quantrez Knight. I think he did really well. If you want to figure out if Sermon's going to make it, got to wait till the end. I'm going defense first, all the way up to offense. So that's 6 cornerbacks. I'm keeping 5 linebackers. I'm keeping Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shaair, Dre Greenlaw, Oren Burks, and Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. I have the 49ers cutting Marcelino McCrary-Ball, Segun Olubi, and Curtis Robinson. I do think Marcelino McCrary-Ball and Segun Olubi will be practice squad candidates for the 49ers. So I have them keeping 5. I don't know. Maybe that's a position they keep 4 ultimately. Maybe they think they can get DFF back on the practice squad. But I do think they keep 5. I think Oren Burks has proven he's definitely deserving of being that 4th. He can be a starter if they need him to. And also DFF has a role on special teams. The defensive line. I have the 49ers keeping 11 defensive linemen. I don't think there's going to be any real surprises or shockers here. I think the 49ers are going to keep Eric Armstead, Kevin Givens, Javon Kinlaw, Nick Bosa, Charles Omenihu, Samson Ebukam, Drake Jackson, Hassan Ridgeway, Kamoko Toure, Jordan Willis, and Kerry Hyder. So I have the 49ers keeping 11. That means the guys who don't make the squad are going to be Kevin Givens, Alex Barrett, and Akeem Spence. So far, I don't know what you guys think. That gets us through the defense. I don't think there's really a ton of surprises there. Some people can make the case that Dante Johnson could get cut, but they love Dante Johnson. So why not just keep him on the team? You know what I'm saying? Like, why go through the rigmarole of cutting Dante Johnson just to bring him back? So I think you could get Tariq Castro-Fields back onto the practice squad. But so far, I think the defense is pretty cut and dry. I don't think there's a whole lot of concerns there or issues with, potentially getting squeezed at certain spots. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But I think the offense is what's going to be have more variables in regards to what's going down. And again, as we get into the offense, did I say Kevin Givens didn't make the roster? No, Kevin Givens makes the roster. Kevin Atkins gets cut. There's two Kevins. Kevin Givens makes it. Kevin Atkins gets cut. Kevin Givens is a starter. So Kevin Givens absolutely makes it. It's the Kevin Atkins who doesn't make it. Kevin Atkins is the undrafted free agent out of Fresno State. I could have there's a huge chance I said Givens because my brain works like that. It's not what I meant. Kevin Givens is making the roster. Kevin Givens is starting next to Javon Kinlaw on the interior. I said Kerry Hyder's making the roster. So let me repeat this since I clearly misspoke. These are the guys who are making the roster. Eric Armstead, Kevin Givens, Javon Kinlaw, Nick Bosa, Charles Omenihu, Samson Ebukam, Drake Jackson, Hassan Ridgeway, Kamoko Toure, Jordan Willis, and Kerry Hyder Jr. I got 11 defensive linemen making it, and those are the 11. So apologize for misspeaking. It's going to happen more than once. But hey, now let's get into the offensive side of things, huh? Shall we? Let's get into the offense. I think the 49ers, we're going to start with the offensive line, and we're going to work towards the skill position. Hello, Turk. We are going to start with the 49ers keeping 9 offensive linemen. Typically, I think the 49ers keep 8 historically, but I do think Jason Poe made it difficult. On top of Jason Poe making it difficult, I also believe, I got to listen to, hey, Kyle said he's going to keep 9 offensive linemen. Kyle said he's going to take 9 offensive linemen. All right, that's fine. That's fine. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Shout out all the SDS in here. So this is what I had the 49ers keeping 9 offensive linemen. I see Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, Mike McGlinchey. Love to see Mike McGlinchey back at practice today. Daniel Brunskill, who is also off to the side working today. Colton McKivitz, who clearly is the swing tackle for this team. Jason Poe, the undrafted free agent, makes the squad. And Jalen Moore. Now, this is going to be the interesting spot. Do the 49ers really opt to keep 9? Do they think they can get Jason Poe on the practice squad and keep 8 and add another skill position? So the reason, if I got to keep 9, if I'm keeping 9 offensive linemen, that means the skill positions take a bit of a hit. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, and this is kind of how I project the 49ers to do it. I also think the 49ers are going to keep 3 tight ends. I've seen some roster projections with them keeping 4. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the 49ers are going to keep 3. And this has been a highly debated position and something that I've talked about quite a bit on this channel. I really thought Ross Dwelley was on the bubble. I really feel like with the 49ers bringing in Tyler Kroft, Troy Fumagalli, before Jordan Matthews went down, I really felt like Ross Dwelley was on the bubble. But I have been impressed with Ross Dwelley. I've been impressed with the way Dwelley has answered, responded. I feel like his blocking improved. I feel like he continued to show, especially in the game against the Texans, that he can still catch the ball. I don't think that's ever been Ross's issue. With Ross, it's kind of been blocking, but I felt like I've seen enough from Ross to feel comfortable. And so I had the 49ers keeping George Kittle, Ross Dwelley, and Charlie Warner. So I think it's going to be the same 3 tight ends that the 49ers had last year. That means Tyler Kroft doesn't make it, even though I think Tyler Kroft has done a pretty good job in training camp and is worthy of making the squad. he wasn't on a squad before training camp. He feels like a safe practice squad candidate. So I like Tyler Kroft. I want him to be around. I just think you can sneak him onto the practice squad at this point. So I have him getting cut. And I think, you stick with Ross. Ross has been here. He's been in the room. And reward him. Reward him for his work. Get Ross Dwelly on the roster. And we already know I'm a big fan of Charlie Warner. I still think he's tight end too, because of his ability to block. He can catch when he's given the opportunity, but his big value add is his blocking ability. All right, now let's get into the skill positions. Remember, before you yell at me and you scream at me, this is what I think the 49ers are going to do. And I could be completely wrong, but this is what I think the 49ers are going to do. I don't know if it's necessarily what I would do, but this is what I think the 49ers are going to do, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to debate it. And we're going to see. I'm putting the John Lynch hat on right now. I'm sitting up there in the ivory towers of Levi's Stadium. I got all the names on the board. I'm moving them around. I'm like, who are we going to get out? We're rubbing the ginger beard. We're like, who's going to make this roster? So it might be a surprise to some, maybe not. I have the 49ers. Let's start with the wide receiver position. I have the 49ers only keeping 5 wide receivers, and I'll explain why. These are the 5 that I have them keeping. You probably can assume who they are. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, Danny Gray, and Ray McLeod. So I have them keeping 5 because I do believe Malik Turner would be that 6th guy if they kept 6. But if you're going to keep 9 offensive linemen, I think you got to take away from the wide receiver pot. And with Malik Turner, I'm not sure that other teams are going to be banging down his door to add him to the active roster. Maybe he'll get other invites to go to other practice squads, but I think the 49ers can sell him on returning to the practice squad and being one of those guys that gets elevated on game day for special teams. I really don't think the 49ers are going to look at Malik Turner to really be relied on in the passing game. But you could put him on the practice squad and then elevate him every game to be a key contributor on special teams. So because of keeping the 9 offensive linemen, I think you can get away with cutting Malik Turner. Again, if they keep 6, it's going to be Malik Turner. But I think you can get Malik on the practice squad and use him as a per game basis based on special teams. I don't think he's going to be someone that the 49ers rely heavily on. We thought Trent Sherfield was going to be that guy based on the way he had an amazing training camp. Trent Sherfield couldn't even get on the field. So based on the way the 49ers have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, we know what their roles are going to be. We know what Jawan Jennings' role is going to be. Danny Gray, I also believe, made it apparent that he's going to be relied on. And, of course, Ray McLeod can be used as a returner. And, of course, I think he's going to be relied on as a gadget player. So I got Ray McLeod making it. I got Tay Martin getting cut. I really like Tay Martin. Really hope Tay Martin comes back on the practice squad. I got Marcus Johnson getting cut. Also, I got Willie Snead getting cut. Let's get to the fullback. No surprise here. 1 fullback. Kyle Juszczyk. Okay, next. Now the running back position. We've talked so much about the running back position, so I want to do a little bit more interactive with this particular position before I tell you mine. So in the chat, I want you guys to drop. So I'm only keeping 4. So this is your task. I'm only keeping, again, I got my John Lynch cap on. This isn't Brad anymore. You're speaking to John Lynch now. You're speaking to the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers, who's going to be in charge of cutting this roster. This isn't Brad anymore. This isn't this is John. I'm John Lynch. You speak to me with some respect. Keep him 4. Keep him 4 running backs. Drop your top 4. Oh, hey guys. Nice to see you. What's going on? So drop your top 4 running backs. That, again, this is a projection. Yes. With respect, like we said. With respect. So again, tell me in the chat the 4 running backs, and you could do it either way. Who you want or who you think the 49ers are going to keep. And then I will drop what I'm projecting. Let's get into the chat so far. First off the bat, Tony Caldwell says Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, Jordan Mason, JaMycal Hasty. That means that means TDP 3rd round pick this year, and Trey Sermon is cut. That's a pair of 3rd round picks cut, according to Tony. Kelts says, I want Mason, but I think the 49ers go Mitchell, Wilson, Sermon, TDP. Roman says Mitchell, TDP, El Jefe, Mason. That means no Sermon. Jesus says Mitchell, Wilson, TDP, Mason. We got another Eli, Jefe, Hasty, Mason. Samuel's calling out Wilson, Mason, Hasty, Castro Fields. Castro Fields moving to running back. Let's go. Castro Fields can do it all. Let's see. And let's get down the list. So you can see Mason is in a lot of these. DeMarcus is leaving out Trey Sermon on his. Trey Sermon doesn't make the list on lights. Jason says Wilson, TDP, Hasty, Sermon. That's why they're going to do, but need to cut Sermon to keep Mason. We got Mitchell, Wilson, Mason, TDP, which means Hasty gets the cut and Sermon gets the cut. So that seems to be the common thread amongst fans is we want to keep Mason on this roster. We really want to keep Mason on this roster. But I just cannot shake the fact that the 49ers are going to do 49er things, and they're not going to listen to the fan base. We've heard them talk about Trey Sermon. John Lynch, me, right? I'm John Lynch for right now. I came out and said that Trey Sermon has been one of the best running backs in training camp. I would debate myself on that, but hey, that's what I said as being John Lynch, the guy who's cutting this roster. But you can see that's not the way fans feel. That's not the way Brad of the Safeties feels. I think Brad believes that Mason shows so much promise that you don't want to let that guy go. But hey, I'm John Lynch now. I'm calling the shots. We don't care about that weird ginger bearded guy who talks all the time on his YouTubes. I'm John Lynch. I make the decisions. But you can see it's pretty common. It's pretty common. I think Elijah, obviously, for the most part, TDP for sure. I think it feels like Jeff Wilson. So it feels like we got a 3-man lot. It feels like that. Now, some people have Jeff Wilson missing, but it does feel like the locks are going to be Mitchell, Wilson, TDP. It's the 4th that is, who's it going to be between Mason, Hasty, and Sermon. So I want to make sure we get all you guys up here before I drop. For me, John Lynch drops the roster cut on you. What I'm doing as John Lynch. Mason had a damn press conference. He also was on the main page as well. All right. So remember, I'm John Lynch. I'm not that weird ginger bearded guy. Brad Graham of the SF9ers. I'm John Lynch. So as John Lynch, wearing a Kyle Shanahan shirt, the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers, this is who I, John Lynch, am keeping as the 49ers running backs. All right, you guys ready? Elijah Mitchell, Ty Davis Price, Jeff Wilson Jr., Trey Sermon. Oh, that hurt. That hurt. Again, I'm John Lynch. I'm John Lynch. That weird guy named Brad, this isn't his list. This is my list. John Lynch. I do believe, and it hurts. It hurts. But I look at the 49ers, I'm listening to what they're saying. I feel like I know what they do. Kinda. Again, I have no idea. But I do have the 49ers projecting to keep Elijah Mitchell, Ty Davis Price, Jeff Wilson, Trey Sermon. That means JaMycal Hasty and our legend, our preseason god, Jordan Mason, gets cut. And this is the logic. I do think the logic is going to come from the value that they put into Trey Sermon. They dropped the 3rd round pick. They traded up to get him. If you cut Trey Sermon, I feel like they believe he will have an easier time to get picked up from somewhere else. I do believe. I feel so bad. Yeah, yell at me. Yell at me. Yell at me all you want. I'm here for it. Yell at me all you want. I'm here for it. Yell at me all you want. I'm here for it. I want all the smoke, as the kids say. As they say on the interwebs, I want all the smoke. As general manager of the San Francisco 49ers, John Lynch. That's me. That's me. So the logic behind this, again, I'm having to apply the 49ers logic. I believe that the capital that they've sunk into Trey Sermon had a better game against the Texans. You take John Lynch's my comments that I made on the pregame show about Trey Sermon being one of the best players of training camp. And that to me just doesn't signal a release. We'll find out. I think the logic applies. JaMycal Hasty, Jordan Mason, both undrafted free agents. Maybe they believe they can sneak them through. If you had to ask that ginger bearded guy what his thoughts were, I believe he would tell you, you're crazy for letting Jordan Mason hit the open market, because you're going to have Pistol Pete Carroll smacking on his gum, just waiting for the news that Jordan Mason hits the waivers and swoops him. It's something that I don't feel good about. I think if Mason gets released, again, you listen to a lot of the beat reporters and the people who are talking about their roster projections. They think Jordan Mason's going to be able to sneak through. I don't think so. But I think the 49ers would rather bet on Jordan Mason making it through than betting on Trey Sermon. We're going to find out. This is going to be one of the number one positions that we watch, and who's going to do it. I think JaMychal Hasty is a tough cut. I think JaMychal Hasty has proven he's deserving of a role, but I also think his time off the roster, on the roster, you could probably try to sneak him around. You had JaMychal Hasty kind of hinting at, like, whatever happens this year, I'm going to be on a roster. So I don't know if he sees the writing on the wall or not, but this is going to be something that we monitor. A sermon for a trade could be. That's one way to look at John Lynch's comments about Trey Sermon, pumping up the Trey Sermon stock. Oh, we're real high on Trey Sermon. We think Trey Sermon is, they do that all the time, but we'll see. So as of right now, that's what I got with the running backs. So the San Francisco 49ers now only have 2 roster spots left for quarterbacks. Are you guys ready for this? Who is John Lynch, me, going to keep at quarterback? Again, I only have 2 spots. We've gotten this far. There are 51 roster spots filled. That means only 2 survive in the quarterback room, and there are 4. Trey Lance, Nasty Nate, Dirty Purdy, and good old Jimmy. Jimmy. What does John Lynch do? What do I do when I cut this roster? Because if I'm going to keep Jimmy, well, wouldn't Jimmy be the backup? What's it going to be? What's it going to be? The anticipation is killing me. Spoiler alert, Hoygaard is back. Spoiler alert, Hoygaard is back. So this is what John has with the 49ers. Again, this could be a wrinkle. I really do think, like, this isn't a foregone conclusion. Like, I think that we could be looking at tomorrow's roster cut and, good old Johnny get a little tricky with it. Because, again, Jimmy's contract doesn't get guaranteed tomorrow. It gets guaranteed, I believe, either day of or day before week 1. So September 10th, September 11th, that's when Jimmy's contract gets guaranteed. What does he do? I need the if you want to be a millionaire, like the sound that they would do when it was like your final question, doo-doo-doo, and the lights dim, all that kind of stuff. But this is what it is. I'm John Lynch. Remember, I'm John Lynch. As John Lynch, general manager of the San Francisco 49ers, the San Francisco, a little bit repetitive, but the San Francisco 49ers are going to keep Trey Lance and Nasty Nate Sudfeld. Come on down. That means Jimmy Garoppolo gets cut. Brock, the Dirty Purdy, gets cut. Oh boy, react. React now. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Should I be fired? What say you? Do the 49ers keep Jimmy Garoppolo? Do they keep 3 quarterbacks? Again, logic. The logic is Brock Purdy, is another team going to put him on the active? I don't know. I don't know if Brock Purdy will be on the active anywhere else. So it feels like, from a logic standpoint, you can get Brock on the practice squad. Then you cut Jimmy. Will that happen? No idea. We finally get closure. Cut Jimmy. And that's the end of that. The reason you keep Nate Sudfeld is because Nate Sudfeld is a veteran presence. So again, you have Trey Lance. Trey Lance, when he's talked about Nate Sudfeld, is a guy that he can lean on for help. He's like another quarterback. He's another coach in the room. So whereas Brock Purdy, he's learning. I don't think that aids Trey Lance necessarily. I think Nate Sudfeld's presence would better aid Trey Lance in his development. Again, if Nate Sudfeld or Brock Purdy are playing quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers in 2022, it doesn't really matter. It's probably not going to be a phenomenal outcome either way. So I'm not too worried about the backup, but I like the veteran presence that Nate Sudfeld brings. Can be a sounding board for our guy Trey Lance. That's how I got it. All right. Now, again, I'm John Lynch. We'll recap it. I want you to grade it. Oh, shout out for the super sticker. Thank you, Susie QZ. Appreciate you. We're going to recap the roster. Then I want you to grade it. And I'm John Lynch, so I'm fine. I'm not going to be hurt by this. I want you to give me honest grade on this roster. We're going to start from the top to bottom. So let's get into it. 2 quarterbacks, Trey Lance, Nate Sudfeld. 4 running backs, Elijah Mitchell, Ty Davis-Price, Jeff Wilson, Trey Sermon. 1 fullback, Kyle Juszczyk. 5 wide receivers, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, Danny Gray, Ray McLeod. 3 tight ends, George Kittle, Ross Dwelly, Charlie Warner. 9 offensive linemen, Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, Mike McGlinchey, Daniel Brunskill, Colton McKivitz, Jason Poe, Jalen Moore. D-line, Eric Armstead, Kevin Givens, Javon Kinlaw, Nick Bosa, Charles Omenihu, Samson Ebukam, Drake Jackson, Hassan Ridgeway, Kamoko Ture, Jordan Willis, Kerry Hyder. Linebackers, Fred Warner, Aziz Alshire, Dre Greenlaw, Oren Burks, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, and cornerbacks, Charvarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Samuel Womack, Dante Johnson, Ambry Thomas, Diamador Lenoir. Safeties, Jimmy Ward, Talanoa Fanga, Georgia Odom, Tarvarius Moore. Special teams, Robbie Gould, Mitchell Shanowski, Tabor Pepper. Grade it now. Grade it now. Let's see. Oh, you just missed it, but you just got the recap. I'm on the hot seat. Oh, you want the Brad roster? Ooh. The Brad roster would be spicy. It would definitely be a lot more spicy than this. The Brad roster would have Jordan Mason on it. I'll say that. The Brad roster would have had Jordan Mason on it. Jacob says, you're very convicted on this, John. So grade it. First grade out the gate, F. Love to see it. My guy says, just kidding. Buck says, A seems correct. Oh, I'll take it. C+, keeping Trey, put you on the hot seat. Dark Willow says C. We got a C-. We got a B-. We got a C-. B- because you didn't keep Mason. I understand it. I'm here for it. I want all the smoke. A-, B, F-. Fair. Could have been an A if he kept Mason. You already know if it was going to be an A, we would have kept Mason. 100%. But I just can't get over it. I don't know if they're going to keep him. I just don't know. I don't know if they are. I don't think they are. I think they're going to try to get him on the practice squad. B-, B+, F. Thank you. B, the only thing I don't agree that they should do is Sermon and Mason. Keep Mason, trade cut Sermon. I agree. I would love to see a trade materialize for Sermon with the ability to keep Mason. That way you're getting something in return and you're still able to keep Mason around. Charlene says A, C minus, D plus. Oh, B plus. Thanks. Brad roster is A plus. My roster would be spicy. B, keep Mason. Jimmy staying though. G plus because you cut AC. B for realism. You cut Jimmy though, so I guess that elevates to a B minus. Okay. So I think we all agree. If Jordan Mason doesn't make the roster, we riot. Nicholas says, can we keep 5 running backs? We can, but I really look at the offensive line as being the position that takes away from the offensive line skill positions. If they keep 9, they typically keep 8. But if they keep 9 offensive linemen, you got to take away either 1 wide receiver, which they typically keep 6. So I had them keeping 5 wide receivers. Or they keep 5 wide receivers and 5 running backs. They could absolutely do that. And especially if you do believe that the 49ers are going to be more active in throwing to running backs, then you definitely could perceive that they could do that. And this is also actually a really good point from Jesus that I really didn't take into account. Deebo Samuel will be used as a running back, maybe even Ray McLeod. So maybe that could even open up another spot. We'll see. We'll see. So overall, I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens. Guys that I think would be a travesty. Hey, let's go. Shout out my guy, 49ers Ultimate Report says, I was watching KPIX5 CBS Bay Area and I saw you on the show. KPIX5 is my favorite news network. Congrats, Brad. Appreciate you. I made my first TV appearance last night on CBS Bay Area. So that was quite the experience. But was able to join them and talk 49ers football. So that was definitely an experience. Shout out to my guy, 49ers Ultimate Report, for the shout out. Definitely was crazy being on the news, man. It's crazy. We're out here just working. You love to see it. We're going to have some more announcements coming down the pipe too. So we got some more things in the works. Really excited for some of the things that we got going. But yeah, man, really cool to be on CBS last night. Shout out my guy Charlie for bringing me on. I really do appreciate that. Let's see. Let's talk practice squad. Let's talk practice squad. We haven't got on a practice squad yet. So keeping 16 on the practice squad. These are the guys that I had making it. Running back Jordan Mason, obviously. Jordan Mason's literally number 1 on my list of the practice squad. Like, if I would literally open 54 spots just for Jordan Mason, like travesty if Jordan Mason gets actually released. Quarterback Brock Purdy, wide receiver Tay Martin. I really like Tay Martin. I think Tay Martin could develop into a guy. I really, really do. Malik Turner, again, we talked about him. He could be elevated on game days for special teams. I like them keeping wide receiver Marcus Johnson. I think he offers some versatility as a returner and a receiver. So I like them stashing him on the practice squad. I have them keeping running back JaMycal Hasty on the practice squad. Again, but if Jordan Mason and JaMycal Hasty hit waivers, I don't expect either of them to come back to the 49ers. So that's why the 49ers are in a tough spot. I have them. I think Tyler Kroft will clear waivers. He was on waivers, or he was on the free agent market before camp. I don't think anyone would add him now. But I would love to have Tyler Kroft on the practice squad. He's a guy that could definitely step in a pinch. As it was reported, there's no signs of Donovan West. Oh, wait. Did we get a cut? All right, we have an official cut. The 49ers have cut Ken Crawley, which isn't a surprise. I don't have Ken Crawley on the list. So, on the practice squad. So the 49ers announced the first roster cut. I guess the first roster cut was yesterday, and Kadar Holman. They cut Ken Crawley today. So I don't think that is really too much of a surprise. He was a late add in training camp. Didn't really show a whole lot. He did get starting reps though, which was interesting. But yes, Ken Crawley does not make it. He is the recent cut that was just announced. So let me get that posted really quickly, actually. Gotta get it posted. All right, hold on. Now, the tricky part is actually finding a photograph of Ken Crawley. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a photograph of Ken Crawley. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a picture of a helmet, and we're going to just do a helmet because I don't want to spend 40 hours searching the 90,000 images I have on my phone to attempt to locate Ken Crawley on there, which might not even exist to begin with. All right, so let me get this posted again. Just if you haven't heard me for the 40th time, the 49ers have officially announced they have released Ken Crawley. Let me get this posted. We're going to go to Twitter first. The 49ers have, is it released or cut? Let's see. There's a difference between being released or cut. Cutting. All right, they cut him. They cut him. All right, multitasking in progress. Have cut cornerback Ken Crawley per. I'm going to do per multiple reports because I have no idea who had it first. The 49ers have cut cornerback Ken Crawley per multiple reports. Hit send. Tweet is live. Now we're going to go to Instagram. Same thing. Next. I apologize. This is not entertaining at all. But I got to do what I got to do. Post. All right. So cuts are going to start coming down here pretty soon. Clearly. Again, I would expect Donovan West to be one of the next. I really hope Donovan West comes back around on the practice squad. I think Donovan West could definitely be one of those guys that could benefit from getting a year in the system, kind of rechanging his body. And listen to Jesus. Let's get this up to 100 likes. But back to the practice squad. Right on cue, I have Donovan West making the practice squad. Again, Nick Sakel didn't make the list. I like Nick Sakel. I think Nick Sakel got better as preseason progressed. 6th-round pick out of Fordham. Again, there's just too much. There's too many roster spots. Jason Poe clearly outperformed Nick Sakel. But I want Nick Sakel back. I want him back. I want Donovan West and Nick Sakel. Again, so that would be two 6th-round picks get cut in Nick Sakel, but I do have also as well Tariq Castro Fields on the practice squad. Alfredo Gutierrez, he has a roster exemption. So that's what I have for him. So technically the 49ers have 17 guys. But because Alfredo is part of the international program, he gets an exemption. Justin School, I was hoping for Justin School redemption tour, but you could tell is taking Justin School a little bit of time getting back. Didn't have the best preseason or training camp. You could tell he was struggling a little bit. But I still want him back. Just get him on the practice squad, give him some time to marinate. Maybe he could be a guy that steps up, or give him another opportunity heading into next year's training camp and see if he can push for a spot. But I would bring School back. I have Marcelino McCrary Ball on the practice squad, along with Sego and Alubi, two undrafted free agent linebackers. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. I think they both showed a lot of promise. They're like again, those hybrid safeties that are being converted to linebacker. A lot of athleticism, can move really, really well, good ball skills. I like them both. But I would like to see them on the practice squad. Quantrez Knight. I think Quantrez Knight could be a guy that push for a roster spot. But again, same logic applies with Trey Sermon. You look at Ambry Thomas, you can make the argument that Quantrez Knight had a better training camp than Ambry Thomas, but Quantrez Knight is an undrafted free agent. Ambry Thomas is a third-round draft pick. So I think you got to play that game a little bit. So I think the hope is you stick with Ambry, see what Ambry can be for you. You get Quantrez Knight on the practice squad. Again, I don't think anyone's going to be banging down the door for an undrafted free agent. I think it's a little different when they have a high draft price, especially a second-year player, and a player who's put some tape out there where a team could theoretically go pick Ambry. So I see it as, I think Quantrez Knight, you can make the argument, but I think ultimately they'll land with Ambry. So you get Quantrez Knight back on the practice squad. Taylor Hawkins on the practice squad. I really liked what I saw out of Taylor Hawkins. Again, just a young guy. Give him a couple years to really be able to push for a roster. But I do see Taylor Hawkins, like we could be talking about maybe next year or a year from now or 2 years from now, as a guy pushing for a spot. But right now, put him on the practice squad, let him marinate, potentially be a special teamer. And Alex Barrett. I really like Alex Barrett. He's not going to be every down interior defensive tackle, but I think he can win. You can use him in the NASCAR package. I think he's good depth to have. I mean, the 49ers, if you go back to 2020, they cut him 6 times in 2020, brought him back. He made a game-winning play against Arizona by getting a pressure on Kyler Murray on a 4th down situation. I like Alex Barrett. I would keep him around on the practice squad for sure. And again, on the injured reserve list, you have Maurice Hurst and Jordan Matthews. They're not going to play this year. But hey, it is what it is. NFI list, you have Kalai Davis, who could be activated at pretty much any time, I think, or it's either after a 4-game window. I'm not positive on the NFI list. And then Jason Verrett is on the PUP as well. So that's the way I got the roster shaken down as of right now. So again, I think the biggest things with that I have with my own John Lynch roster would be the running back position. I want to figure out how to get Jordan Mason on the roster. Um, I feel like Jalen Moore is regressing. So I don't know. I don't know what they think about Jalen Moore. I'm having a hard time with Jalen. I get the Texans game was his first time back in a couple weeks after going down in training camp. So maybe he was a little, Raw, I don't know. But where are you hearing this? Is Alex Mack conspiracy true? That the Niners called his agent. Uh, I have not heard that. I'm not sure where you're seeing that. Um, but I would love to have Alex Mack back. Uh, I think he would, but I also do think Jake Brendel's has done all right. I don't think Jake Brendel has been terrible. I actually think he's been decently good. But we'll continue to see how it all plays out and all that good stuff. Yeah, he's enjoying his retirement. I could I would be shocked to see Alex Mack come back, especially this late. You know, yeah, that would be tough, man. I don't know. Me as John Lynch. Uh, I did not have Jordan Mason making it. If it was Brad's roster prediction, he would have made it. But again, I do think there is some, eh, you know, roster. I don't want to call it roster politics, but again, you have the value that they placed in the Sermon. You don't give up on guys that easily. I think Sermon showed enough. And I think Sermon had a better camp. I think there were definitely days when Trey Sermon, I wouldn't call him the best player in training camp, but he had much better days in training camp. He had a better game against the Texans. So I think for what the 49ers are looking for, I think Trey Sermon showed them enough to keep him. But we'll see. Uh Tevin Jenkins is supposed to be available. Is he worth kicking the tires on? 100%. Um, if they are really making Tevin Jenkins available, uh, I would definitely be for that. I mean, he's 24 years old. I think he's heading into his second year. Um, I know one of my guys, Brandon Thorne, who does a ton of O-line breakdowns, loved Tevin Jenkins coming out of the draft. He was coming out of Oklahoma State. He's very physical. Um, he kind of he he's kind of like the mold of kind of like Aaron Banks, like really big, powerful, moves decently well for his size. Again, he's 6'6", 320 pounds. So he's like an Aaron Banks. He's big, he's powerful, he's aggressive. I don't know I have no idea like what happened with Chicago for them to already be potentially moving on from him. Because he was a second round pick, number 39 overall. So like right after, I think it was the pick right after Aaron Banks. Hold on. Notifications are popping, making sure I'm not missing anything. Noties are popping at the moment. So yeah, I mean, if you could get Tevin Jenkins for cheap, why not? Why not? What is my takeaway about Banks so far this season? I think Banks has gotten better. Um, Again, I think we all watched the game against the Texans and just kind of freaked out a little bit. And this is again why I always say, and it's another reminder for me personally of why I cannot give definitive takes on the offensive line until I go back and I watch the tape. Because just like always, I went back and I watched the tape and it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. He had a couple plays that he would want to have back. The plays that he would want to have back, you can correct. There's it's teachable technique that would change the outcome of the play. So when I see that from Banks, that those are learning things. Like again, when you look at Burford and if Burford made a mistake, the way he's making a mistake is just it's a mental lapse. Mental lapses are things that are going to happen to an offensive lineman, but they're correctable. If he's just getting just dominated or just shoved off the line of scrimmage, this, that, and the other thing, while using proper technique, using proper and doing the things that he's supposed to be doing, then that's a little bit more concerning. But it's like, okay, he's out of position and he lost because he's out of position. Like, we can rationalize that. And we could be like, put yourself in position next time, and it's not going to be so bad. So going back and rewatching it, I felt a lot better. It was a little jarring, I think, in real time because you get a sense of the game flow, and I think the game flow was so gross that it made everything feel gross. And then when you had Jalen make a mistake or Colton make a mistake, and then Burford made a mistake, and then Banks made a mistake, and it felt like they were just kind of like stacking on each other. It felt so much worse in real time. But if you go back and you basically watch Banks in a vacuum and you chart all of Banks's plays against Texans, there's maybe 2 or 3 that he would want to have back, and those 2 or 3 were correctable with technique or just being in the right spot. So when I take a step back, I'm like, okay, it's definitely not as bad as I thought. So that's why, again, reminder for me why I should not be talking about the offensive line until I go back and rewatch the tape. So that's my thoughts on it. So if you see anyone else as well, kind of just having these grand proclamations of like the offensive line after a broadcast, like a live broadcast, just if it's not like a beat where it's like blatantly obvious, there's a lot of nuance that goes into that. So I came away out of the Banks situation just feeling a lot better about it. I think Banks is going to be able to be a player again. I saw him pick up stunts. I saw him get to second level. I saw him make, the play where it got blown up. He had a play previously where he was successful at it. So again, simple things: getting your head in front of the defensive line instead of putting it on his back and pushing him upfield will change the leverage of the play. So ultimately, with Aaron Banks, I feel okay. When Kyle Shanahan came out and said, "Oh, I think Aaron Banks actually had a better game than the Minnesota game," I agree with it. And I know a lot of people are like, "How is that possible?" Aaron Banks had a lot more of those struggles where you're like, "Oh, that wasn't technique," or like that wasn't like, it was more jarring against Minnesota. These mistakes against the Texans, you can correct them. And when you looked at his whole body of work, again, offensive linemen get roasted over the coals for 1 or 2 bad plays, but there's a lot of plays. There is a lot of plays that go down. And so the overall body of work was a lot better. So I'm not as worried as before, um, as I was like watching the game live. Same thing goes for. I actually think once you get Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey back, the offensive line is going to look a whole lot better. So I'm pretty excited about that. Pretty excited about that. So just give them time. Again, we talked about it all training camp. There was not a whole lot of continuity being built up. They're going to have to build the continuity in season. So it's going to be a work in progress, but they should be able to get it and settle it down and get on the right track. And once that whole offensive line is working together in unison, everything is going to fall into place. So but it could take some time. But they need a couple weeks. They're going to need 3 to 4 games for us to really understand what this offensive line is. So until then, just understand it's going to be a work in progress. But there's no need to panic as of right now. But hey, I think that's a good spot to stop. Able to talk about some of the current news. If the 49ers just drop a big list of cuts, maybe I'll pop on to talk about those in a little bit. But for the most part, we talked about the news that we've heard about from today. We did our 53-man roster projection so far up until this point. And we got into it. Now we got to wait and see, what are the 49ers going to do tomorrow? Is Jimmy Garoppolo still on the roster after the deadline tomorrow? We will find out. How do you feel about Brendel I think Brendel's doing good at center. I don't think Brendel's going to be like one of those dominating centers, but Brendel puts himself in the correct position all the time. So I like that. Need that. Got to have it. Shout out JTH. My guy makes the killer intro. Appreciate you, man. We'll definitely be kicking it on Twitter for sure. But overall, not too bad. So we'll see what's going down tomorrow. Tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow's going to be litty. So make sure you got the post notifications on, because when we go live, you're not going to want to miss it. We're going to be reacting to all the roster moves, the moves that are made or the moves that aren't made. Tomorrow could be insane. So make sure that you do not miss a live stream tomorrow. That is going to be the one that's going to be a lot of fun. So hit that noti bell. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. And of course, smash that like button on your way out. Appreciate all you guys for tapping in. I was told to do the intro on the way out, so I'll try it, see if we like it. If you do like the intro, even though it's an intro on the outro, whatever, we'll see. Appreciate you all. I'm out of here. Like the video. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.